What is up, Beyond the Gates fans? Here to preview this upcoming week of Beyond the Gates for the week of January 26th. We do have a video preview to talk about this week, so I'm going to jump right into that while I have the time. We start the preview with Nicole all dressed up, dressed to the nines, lots of makeup on, looking like she's probably going on a date with good old boring Carlton again. So that's what I'm assuming is happening here, unless it happens to be with Kyle. But it seems like Nicole is wanting to choose Carlton for her relationship right now, for whatever reason, I guess, just to bore us. But in the preview, Tomas and Kat see Nicole all dressed up, and Tomas says that Nicole is looking fine as hell, and Kat is obviously annoyed with that comment about her mother, because it is kind of weird. This depiction of Kat and Tomas's relationship will continue to confuse me because on that Monday episode last week where we had backstage actors and actresses talking about their characters, they really tried to act like the Kat and Tomas coupling is good. And yet the writing continues to write Tomas like a bonehead, like an idiot, not a good boyfriend. He slept with Kat's half-sister during their relationship. So it's weird that the show continues to try and tell us, even from their actors and actresses, that the Tomas and Kat relationship is good, and yet they continue to write Tomas like a bonehead, and Kat just continues to accept it, and Kat continues to be a hypocrite with the fact that Tomas cheated on her, but she's going to keep holding her father to task about Leslie. Neither one of these characters look good in this relationship. It's been that way from jump, and it's still not helping the characters of Tomas and Kat. Next up in the preview is Madison seemingly maybe finding an issue with Bill's health at the hospital after another test. I'm assuming this is the show trying to make us think that maybe someone will catch on to the fact that Bill's health is deteriorating and that it's from the poison from Hayley. They continue to take this Bill poisoning story and the Hayley stuff extremely slowly, and that does kind of make it hard for me to be excited about this prospect for the upcoming week. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with these tests that Madison is doing on Bill. It's probably yet another fake out, which the show loves to do, but soap operas do them all the time, so it's not this specific show. But we'll see if Bill's health actually does play a bigger role this week on the show. Speaking of health, Naomi is telling Jacob she is heading to the hospital for research on preventative cancer treatments. Maybe Naomi's going to finally come clean to Jacob that she actually tested positive for the cancer gene. But the way Naomi's been lately, she still might lie about it and say she's doing research purposes for her mother or something. I could definitely see that happening. But like I said, I think, Friday or Thursday during my Beyond the Gates review, the relationship between Naomi and Jacob just gets worse and worse. And it's already not good TV, but their problems are clearly bad if Naomi can't even tell Jacob this information, and now Jacob's going to be working undercover. I am wondering at what point are one of these characters going to be in a cheating storyline, because I feel like it has to be inevitable. A lot of you in the comments are saying that Naomi should cheat with Isaiah. That would be soapy, and it would be soapy, but I could also see Naomi sleeping with Grayson, breaking up that Naomi and Ashley friendship. Maybe it can make both the characters of Naomi and Ashley more interesting, because I think both characters need that. It's one of the prominent friendships on the show, but it's one of the most boring parts of the show when they share scenes together, quite frankly. In the preview, Kat is, I guess, seeing Ted and Shanice together and questioning Ted how long that has been going on. This past week, Kat and Ted were having issues, arguing for good reasons for both of them, in my opinion, like I talked about when that episode aired. I don't know how on board Kat will be on the Ted and Shanice relationship. Kat knows Chenise, And at least it's not Leslie. So I don't know if Kat should be upset about this coupling. I don't know if that's what they're alluding to. I'm assuming not, though. I think Kat will, even though she's having issues with Ted right now, I'm thinking she's going to be somewhat supportive about this relationship, but we'll find out. Hayley is in the preview with Andre saying to him that he knows what's up and he knows what he has to do. Is Hayley going to be getting in Andre's head this week about Bill and Dani? I kind of hope so, because Dani and Bill kissed this past week. Dani continues to go back into Bill's orbit, and Andre is going to be the one that gets hurt in this entire situation. I'm very interested in seeing how they are going to write Andre with this storyline, because we know the Dani and Bill dynamic. We know the Dani and Andre dynamic. And right now, Andre has been threatening Bill to stay away from Dani, but it's Dani that is the one that is going back into Bill's orbit. So how they write Andre with the story is going to be interesting, because he's become one of the biggest baby faces on the show. But they also can't write him as a pushover if Dani is going to be cheating on him with Bill. And the show has a problem with writing their men as pushovers a lot. So I am fearful of that happening, but we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. I'm interested to see where they go with Andre, though. And lastly in the preview is a Chelsea and Madison fight, with Madison saying she loves Chelsea enough to walk away, assuming this is over the drugs that Chelsea took the other day. Still not invested in that yet. It's a new story for the two, and their last story took place off screen, so the show needs to do a better job of showing us the Chelsea and Madison problems on screen. I guess so far with this drug storyline, they are doing that, but I'm not invested quite yet. Judging by this preview, I don't know if this upcoming week is going to be as strong as this past week of the show was, but the show definitely has a renewed energy from this past week, so I'm hoping for the best. You know, last week's preview didn't seem that interesting either, and it ended up being a great week, so I do think we hopefully have another good week here. And then after that, we have February sweep. So I'm hoping they're really bringing their A game for that. But for the first time in a long time, I'm happy with where the show is going. We're getting some new storylines. They're finally moving some other storylines. I don't know if they'll ever move the Hayley poisoning Bill storyline, but hopefully. Let's read some of your comments over the past week. Book Chalice said, I enjoyed today's episode. It felt like a Beyond the Gates episode. I'm glad they are revisiting Chelsea's wild side. Glad to see Dr. Kyle make the rounds, even with boring Carlton. Hopefully the love triangle won't last long and Kyle wins. Hayley needs all the help she can get. Talk to Leslie, girl. I'm sure Leslie can think of a faster way to knock off Bill. I agree. I'm glad they're revisiting Chelsea's wild side. That is how the Chelsea character started on the show before falling for Madison. It was also good to see Kyle again. I don't know how I feel about the Kyle, Carlton, and Nicole triangle. They're actually going to have to put in some work there to get me invested in that, because Carlton is so boring. But yeah, I'm also interested in the Hayley and Leslie dynamic, and if Leslie will take Hayley under her wing. Although Hayley already thinks she's a great con woman. But the way that Hayley and Randy meet in public so much, they got some work to do when it comes to the grifting that they do. Harriet Smallwood said, today's episode was the best episode the show's had in a long time. I'm curious about what's on the flash drive, the potential conflict between Chelsea and Madison. I believe this is rushed relationship, so this drug thing can really explore the fact that they don't really know each other. That's a good point, Harriet. Chelsea and Madison definitely rushed their relationship, and Chelsea maybe hasn't presented herself as the real Chelsea to Madison yet, because the Chelsea that started the show was more wild than the Chelsea we've gotten lately. I'm also interested to see what's on the flash drive, what Joey is blackmailing Leslie with. I think there's a lot of wishful thinking that somehow Joey knows that Eva's not really Ted's daughter, and that's what it's going to be. That's possible. I think it's probably more along the lines of Joey has some information that shows for sure that Leslie was the one to try and run down Laura. That would be my assumption, that that's the evidence that Joey has on a flash drive. Harriet Smallwood also said, it will be interesting to see if Hayley is desperate enough to work with Leslie. There's a lot of work with her, and I hope the show keeps the momentum. The only thing I'm not excited for is a potential Bill and Dani reconciliation. I'm Team Dani and Andre. You know, I'm Team Dani and Andre now too, which I didn't think I would ever say months ago, because I've always liked Dani and Bill's chemistry. And I still do, but it's just so toxic. And Andre and Dani are so not toxic. They're actually a very loving couple these days. So it is going to be hard to see Dani set that coupling in flames, but it's also very Dani. I feel like Dani has always had that that drawn to toxic nature. I feel like Dani has had that from the beginning. She's kind of toxic herself. Andre has been the one to really ground her since the show began. Dupree Richardson said, I agree with you. Today's episode was good. I have no notes. Hope they keep it up. I'm Team Pair Nicole with the escort. Maybe Nicole will go down that escort route. Maybe Nicole will let loose more. But for right now, they seem to really want to stick her with Carlton for whatever reason. Hemi said, the writers can't come up with decent storylines for Kat and Eva, so they continue to force this weak rivalry storyline that's just not realistic at all. Talking to two adult women like they're children who need to learn how to play nice together is absolutely ridiculous, and I wish the writers would spare us from this foolishness. I agree. They've really botched the Kat and Eva rivalry for me. They've made it so one note, especially from Kat, who just can't keep Eva out of her mouth, and the rest of the family's even reacting to Kat these days like, you've got Eva face. I'm over that for sure. And I do agree that they seem to struggle to get decent storylines for Kat and Eva, even though they started the show as two of the most popular characters from the show. They've definitely dropped the ball with those two characters. Hemi also said, I want Carlton to turn out to be like a Norman Bates, because it just irks me that Nicole hasn't inquired about his dating history. He's supposed to be this perfect gentleman, yet he hasn't found a woman long before now to be serious about, or vice versa. You might get your wish if Carlton becomes this impaler character that Jacob is going undercover to nab. I think he is one of the possible suspects as that character. So Carlton might be a bad guy in the long run. Alicia8857 says, watching Carlton the cardboard cutout was really painful. What a stiff. You know, maybe it's because we've had Mr. Roboto Tomas shoved down our throats for so long that I'm just used to boring cardboard cutout characters like him, that Carlton isn't on that level for me yet, when I get just so upset to see that he's on an episode like I do with Tomas, because nobody is more stiff and more boring than that character to me. Just no emotions. But Carlton still is boring, and he is similar in some aspects to Tomas and the Tomas portrayal. Devin said, you may have to, this is a quote from the episode, you may have to change your name and your entire life. This could be foreshadowing Marcel being undercover and making up the divorce angle with his wife just so he can catch Leslie. So Devin's theory is that Jacob going undercover and them talking about how he's going to have to change his name and his entire life, maybe that is what Marcel is doing with Leslie. It is possible if the show is trying to redeem Marcel for whatever reason. That is a possibility. Carmen said, remember weeks ago, Tomas was outside the door when Hayley was on the phone. He couldn't figure out the gist of the conversation, but now he has something on Bill and Hayley. What he does with it, we shall see. I mean, I agree. I just wish it was a different character than Tomas, because much like his scenes with Bill on Friday, where he finally got the promotion, it all fell flat. You know, someone in the comments, I don't think I saved it, but somebody was like, Of course, Tomas's scenes when he saw Bill and Dani kissing were good because he actually didn't have to say any lines. That's true. In scenes where Tomas has to actually talk, my interest just drops as the scene goes along because it doesn't hit with that Tomas portrayal, unfortunately. Bobby Wobby said, I think Bill's storyline would be even more interesting if one of the women he cheated with besides Hayley make an appearance on the show. It would be crazy to see the reaction from Dani and Hayley. I do think that would be entertaining. I agree with Bobby Wobby on that idea because it would be entertaining to see a third mistress of, well, I guess a second mistress of Bill's come into the story. If they're not going to go there, and with this Hayley poisoning Bill's storyline going so slow, I'm really hoping that Bill ends up fucking Lynette and cheating on Hayley with Lynette, because clearly Lynette knows how to be a con woman too. She's already conning Hayley out of money, kind of, to pay for her bills with the law firm. So I do want to see how they bring Lynette more into the fold and hopefully make her a bigger character over time. Star Daniel says, how stupid is Dani risking Andre for Bill? Very, very stupid of Dani. But like I said earlier, she's always been drawn to that toxicity that comes from Bill. And just in general, Dani is pretty toxic herself. Andre is the one that grounds her, but right now she's kind of running away from that grounding. Last thing I want to say, Devin in the comments, my boy Devin in the comments, was the first one that I saw say that, this was like 2 weeks ago, that Jan and Derek should be a thing, or that he was hoping that Derek was Jan's man that she met on the cruise. And now I see a lot of people saying that online, that should be a thing. And I would like that a lot more than the show just completely ruining the Derek character for Ashley. Because that's kind of what's happening. If they're going to turn Derek into the stalker over Ashley and Grayson, then they're ruining the Derek character, even though there's not much to ruin. But to ruin that character to try and bring up Ashley again, which they already tried to do with the whole he can't walk anymore storyline, and he's going to keep it from Ashley that he can, it's a bad decision. And I don't think it's going to actually help Ashley. I've always felt like Derek was the more viable character between the two. The show refuses to see it that way. But maybe they will pair Derek and Jan, because that would definitely be more soapy for me. That's all for me. I'll be back tomorrow as long as, we have power from the storm.